Coaches, welcome to your class plan walkthrough. I'm James, the Senior Manager of Programming for CAP, CrossFit Affiliate Programming. I'm going to take you through all of the ins and outs and features of your weekly class plans. And we're also going to take a look at and talk about where these class plans and all of your programming resources are headed from here. Now, where we will begin is where we always recommend beginning when you receive these class plans, is with our weekly overview. We're going to take a look at a sample week from the first week of July. Now, the weekly overview page was meant to give you as much information as possible with as little text as possible. There's certainly a lot more under the hood that we have to cover, but this is an awesome place to start for you, your coaches, as well as your athletes who might want to take a closer look at the programming that's headed their way. Where we will begin is with this time section up in the upper left corner. Now, the time section is exactly what you think it is. It's a breakdown of stimulus in terms of time for all of the workouts throughout the week. Then, as we move across, we have a discussion on heavy lifts as well as high skill movements. These two categories simply highlight those workouts that contain heavy lifts throughout the week, as well as contain high skill movements. Then finally, we have our monthly focus tracker. Now, it's important to note that the monthly focus changes from month to month. For July, the monthly focus is pre-workout practice, which means each day we will have some pre-workout element which targets a specific area. Now, we want you to think of this in terms of July as more than just strength plus Metcon. Now, we will have some, as you can see, strength practice before workouts, but we also will have skill practice and we'll have capacity practice. The other thing to remember is that each month will have a new monthly focus, but this is where we will keep those things tracked. Now, moving down the page, we have front and center your week of workouts from Monday to Sunday. A couple important things to note about your week of workouts is that we try and categorize each day into 4 different categories: benchmark, heavy day, or strength plus Metcon. We do those once in a while, as well as workouts that are extremely high skill, like Sunday's workout with single leg squats and hang squats matches, as well as retests. These squares that are just in black, essentially you can just think of those as your classic GPP workouts that we see most of the time when we walk into the gym and program for our athletes. Below that, we finally have our extra work. Now, it's really important to note that extra work isn't meant to be performed in class time. Extra work is there and was essentially created out of feedback we received to give you and your athletes more. Extra work is meant to be performed in open gym time, or if you have a facility that's large enough, extra work could be programmed in an annex area where your athletes could do what they want to do while you have class going on in another area. Generally, extra work has 3 categories: strength, engine, and skill. And it's also worth noting that you won't always see 2 strengths, 1 engine, and 1 skill as you see here. You might see different combinations of these elements that will complement the week of programming laid out above. We wanted to make sure we were providing you, as well as your members and your coaches, with as many tools as possible to target some of those common pesky areas of weakness that we hear our members talk about so much. Strength is certainly one of the big ones, and our extra work strength doesn't just cover 1 rep max strength, but it'll cover things like gymnastic strength, as you can see here, strict pull-ups and ring rows. It'll cover weighted gymnastic strength. It will cover things like strength speed, absolute strength like 1 rep max strength, and even strength endurance. Engine, we like to think about as your classic cardio conditioning. And then finally, skill is a piece where we sort of pull intensity out and we really focus on movement quality and just enhancing our technical capacity. Now, one of the things we love to do with these weekly overviews is not only distribute them to our coaches, but we like to print this page out and then staple it right to the whiteboard. So our athletes can have a little bit of a bigger picture on what workouts are headed their way throughout the week. And in fact, what we've noticed in doing this is that our athletes actually cherry pick less because it gives them a chance to see a workout they might struggle with or not like, and then come and talk to you and your coaches about it. It also gets them excited about workouts they might see later in the week that include some of their favorite movements or are their favorite benchmark workouts. But that's our weekly overview page. From here, we're going to take a deeper dive into a sample class plan. We're going to look at the first day of the week, Monday. Apple, 5 rounds for time, 25 wall balls, 25 pull-ups. Now, at first glance, you have a lot of information to go through in your daily class plan. But we want to start with one main thing, and that's with these little buttons. Up at the top left corner next to the name of the workout, you see this watch video button. This links to, and all daily class plans include one of these, this links to a class plan discussion where we dissect the workout in a little bit more detail. Or we also talk about maybe some common themes, faults, or issues that might pop up in a given workout. If you look down a little bit lower to the left-hand corner, bottom corner of your class plan, you'll see demo videos. This is where we will not only include demos of the movements themselves, but we're going to include demos of maybe some of the stretching work, accessory work. We'll also include videos that discuss progressions and how to implement them in your class and other fundamental coaching tips that's just going to enhance your coaching ability as well as your athlete experience. For example, we're going to talk about wall ball efficiency as well as pull-up efficiency. Then finally, you'll have a button for the full demo movement library. If you want more demos and to sort through those yourself, you can access that movement demo library by clicking this button, full demo library, at the bottom. Now it's time for the good stuff. Once again, we're going to start in the upper left-hand part of the class plan, RX, Level 2, and Level 1. This includes the workout as written, as well as 2 pre-scaled levels. Now, one of the most important things to note about these 2 pre-scaled levels is that they're not permanent destinations. And we've always inspired our coaches and our athletes to take pieces from the levels to construct the workout that best helps them hit the desired stimulus of the day. So we want you to maybe take the wall ball from level 1, maybe the pull-up from level 2, if that allows you to get as close to the desired time goal of the day, loading goal of the day, and the complexity feel of the day. It also helps your athletes see their own progress. An athlete who spends most of their workouts in level 1s, but spends maybe 2 or 3 or 4 workouts a month in the level 2 will quickly see progress as they accumulate more and more workouts performed at the level 2 area. Then we have our accessory work. And as we said, this month's accessory focuses in on our monthly focus, which is pre-workout practice. And we always include some sort of stretching at the end of class that you can perform with your athletes. Sometimes it's optional. After you clean up, after you record scores, it's just a really nice opportunity for them and you to cool down and get ready for tomorrow. The other really important thing about this first class plan page is we've laid it out in a way that you can either quickly scan it to get the most information to prepare your class and prepare your coaches, or perhaps for newer coaches, you can dive in more deeply and analyze every piece of this text to present this to your class and give your coaches more of a script. We start with the goals. Now the goals comes in 2 forms, as you can see, workout goals, and then below that, we have our coaching goals. The workout goals portion up at the top really discusses stimulus. How long should the workout take? How large should the sets be? How heavy should the weights feel? What should we see our athletes do? And what is the expectation we have for our athletic performance today? Now, the coaching goals speaks a little bit more to the how, what, and why behind the workout, and what you might see in later parts of the class plan. We've always said that if you're a more advanced coach, you might just skim this first page without even going through the second page in too much detail. But if you're a newer coach, or maybe you do want some more detail, we can go through this line by line. We also have scaling options and logistics. Now, these 2 categories are very important. The scaling options elaborates on the potential scaling options that the level 1 and level 2 pre-scaled levels might not include. The logistics portion is a really important portion of the class plan because it helps you accommodate this programming to your facility based on the size of your facility, equipment needs, and maybe whether or not you're still operating indoors or outdoor classes or even remote classes. We always try and provide an outdoor or low equipment option. And then we discuss some considerations in logistics that you can set up ahead of time, or if there is a piece of equipment in the workout that you might not have in your gym. For example, GHDs. Most of us, I know in my affiliate we don't, most of us don't have a whole fleet of GHDs. The logistics section will discuss what you can do in order to still hit the stimulus of the workout and accommodate your class and your coaches the best based on your equipment needs. The final piece of this first page is the whiteboard brief. Now, once again, there are two ways to analyze the whiteboard brief. One is to just cover the target and then the targets we discussed for each individual movements. Today's workout of 5 rounds for time, 25 wall balls, and 25 pull-ups should take somewhere between 12 to 18 minutes. The wall balls, we want athletes to have an option that they can finish in less than 5 sets every round. This helps guide your coaches as well as your athletes to start thinking about what weight or what height or maybe even what rep scheme they should be using for those wall balls. And then we have the same exact thing for our pull-ups. Finish the pull-ups in less than 5 sets every round. Below that, we have a sample whiteboard brief. Now, this isn't something that you have to follow word for word. We know many of us have our own coaching style, have our own tips and tricks that we want to share with our classes, and you can definitely do that. But nonetheless, you have yourself a sample whiteboard brief, which we believe will direct your athletes and your coaches closer to achieving the workout stimulus and enjoying the day. From there, we move on to our second page, and we're going to start with our general warm-up. Now, before dissecting the general warm-up, it's important to look at a couple things here. Each section, general, specific, workout, and cooldown, gives you an estimated timestamp of how long it should take you to move through this portion of the class. We work to be very generous in these timestamps, but also specific enough to make sure we can keep you and your athletes on time, regardless of their skill level and regardless of your coach's skill level. Below each timestamp, we have these goals section, goals for general warm-up, specific, workout, as well as cooldown. The goals are a really awesome top-line summary of what we believe should go down and should occur in each section in order for your coaches and your athletes to get the most out of the class and make sure they hit the stimulus of the workout. From below the goals, we have a more in-depth guideline on how to achieve those goals that are written above. Once again, what we have seen done, more advanced coaches might just simply peruse the goals section and then go to work based on their own experience. Newer coaches, or maybe if you just want to turn your brain off for the day, can continue to dissect each section and use these suggested warm-ups in order to take their class through a general warm-up. They don't have to rely as much on their own experience, and they can really lean on the general warm-up, suggested general warm-up, and suggested specific warm-up in order to prepare their class effectively. The last couple pieces we want to discuss here with the class plan exists under the workout as well as the cool down. Now in the workout, we focus on some basic coaching goals, perhaps how long we want our athletes to finish, what are some common faults that we might look for or preempt as we're walking around the classroom, and even discuss some strategy about what else can we coach aside from movement quality. We start off by giving you some look-fors. What are some common faults that we likely expect to pop up throughout the workout? With wall balls today, we talk about heels coming off the ground and those knees caving in. Below that, we provide you with some basic cues that, based on our experience, continue to work very well in correcting some of these common faults. It's important to note that we're not going to cover every single fault that might show up in this movement, but we're going to try and cover those faults that we most expect occurring in a workout like this with these movements. It gives you and your coaches a chance to build out your cueing toolbox, but also improve seeing and narrow where we should look during class so we can do more with less. Below that, we have a general coaching focus. This is one of our favorite areas of the class plan. It talks about how to handle maybe some outlying problems, for example, like if athletes fail reps. It also can discuss things like strategy. What should we coach with our athletes aside from movement quality? How do we actually get our athletes to move faster? How can we actually get them to perform larger sets? All of these more detailed coaching options will most often be covered in the general coaching focus area. It's a really excellent area for more advanced coaches if they already feel very confident in their ability to warm up classes, lead classes through specific warm-ups, and they have a really solid understanding of the foundational points performance and common fixes for faults. The last portion of the class plan is your cool down. Now, the cool down is the area in the class plan that we often see the most changes. Now, the cool down will cover sometimes, depending on class timeline, more in-depth accessory work at the end of class or skill work, as well as stretching. Oftentimes, the stretching is optional, just to make sure that you and your athletes have enough time to clean up, cool down, and prepare for the next class. Today's class has some optional stretching due to the length of the workout and how long and in-depth both warm-ups were. One of our best recommendations for the cooldown is to always have, if possible, the accessory or skill work written up on the board, as well as the stretching written up on your whiteboard or presented on your TV monitors if you're a little bit more technologically savvy, so your athletes can roll right into that stuff once they're finished with the workout. As we move down the page, you'll notice that we have the same exact layout for all of the days of the week. Now, back to our weekly overview. Some things that we want to keep in mind as we move forward and continue to see these class plans over the next few weeks is that your feedback will be an essential part of improving these and improving the experience that you and your coaches have. Our goal with these class plans starts with making sure that it saves you time. It saves you time in terms of educating your coaches. It saves you time in terms of preparing for your classes. And it saves you time by taking the programming burden off of your hands. On top of that, it's important, and we spent a lot of time building these class plans, but it's really important to us to make sure that utilizing these class plans gives your coaches a chance to develop. Whether it's their first week of coaching or they've been coaching for years, we work very hard to make sure that there are features placed inside of this class plan to benefit coaches of all levels. And then finally, and perhaps the most important part, is making sure that your members continue to see improved fitness results. Things like printing out the weekly overview or pointing out to our members when heavy days and high skill days occur, using things like the monthly focus, are all tools that can be implemented to help your athletes see results faster and improve your athlete experience. We look forward to continually sharing these weekly class plans with you and sharing our ongoing updates to enhance these class plans for you. But most of all, we look forward to receiving your feedback and developing these along the way. So it's time to get out there, work hard, have some fun, and get a little bit fitter.